Hello, my name is Sergeant Mockford, and I'm going to be covering professional growth through training and goal setting professional development course with you today. Some of the types of professional development that we'll be covering in this is going to be CDCs or career development courses, training, measurements and milestones, and what that looks like in TBA for your entries and upgrade training, your PME or your professional military education, both for in-residence and correspondence, professional development, career bio templates, as well as an example, a REDP, where to find it, how it gets coordinated, and mentorship. So CDCs, career development courses, all new airmen or NCOs that have cross-trained into their new AFSC will need to speak with their training and squadron UTM members to get enrolled, because they'll not be underneath that 12 months time in training. It's 9. Normal members have 12 months time in training. That's completion for your CDCs. For active duty, that's 30 days per volume. For your guard or reserve, that's 30 to 60 days depending on your supervisor and or unit per volume. And then that 12 months includes your CDCs, your EOC, and your on-the-job training or your OJT. This is a maintenance AFI, but AFI 36-2651 kind of codifies the process, so we'll be using that as the example. But members enrolled in CDCs require a journal entry at the completion of every volume. Again, 60 days for AFRC or guard, and if the member has not, then documentation is still required to provide a status. This pertains to both 5 and 7 level, obviously. So to close that out, we'll push into training. The training needs to be primary core task related for members not upgrade training when training on programs such as VCO, safety, facility management. Those are obviously pluses. If they've already completed the task in TBA, they can always do a refresher. But really, we're focused on getting people qualified. Again, there's specific time and service codes and time and training codes that pertain to the AFI and what exactly needs to be input. Just bear in mind what code you're in while you're in upgrade training, or what code your troop is in. And again, that's just that AFI towards the end, as they're completed with all their volumes. Make sure you put a journal entry, 1 recommending and 2 for their comprehensive review to document their status and that they're good to go. So tracking and measuring those milestones in TBA, still those same codes. It's still that same codified process. If it's not core task or a specific type of job responsibility that pertains specifically to your work center that's been added into your TBA, don't put a journal entry. That's per 36-2650. If it's like, you fried funnel cakes, or you did Meals on Wheels, that needs to go in a bullet tracker, whether that's my vector or as if you came up when I was coming up an Excel sheet or some kind of tracker, so you can keep track of what you've done for a package and EPR time. For guard and reserve, if you do X amount of tasks, quick recap for a drill or UTA weekend, that's not grounds for TBA entry either. Again, that needs to go in a bullet tracker. So quick recap before we kind of push through from CDCs into professional military education. Macmillan is a great tool for active duty if you're trying to study for your PDG or your SKT. Obviously, Mastery CDCs is going to be good, and scrubbing that and getting comfortable with the material again if it's been some time since you took your EOC prior to testing. Same for your PDG for your Air Force history components. They have AFH1 in there as well, and it's helped a lot of people in there. It is expensive, but it's currently part of the process, part of the system, and the best way to execute. So that's that link. It's essentially Macmillan Guides, and you got to see a good little snippet of that. So back to PME. Obviously, PME is triggered by milestones in your career based off of rank and time in service. There's some other components to that. essentially for Airman Leadership School. Obviously, you either need to have a line number for staff if you're active, or you're towards the end of your higher tenure and your base is going to push you, or you've reached your time and grade and time and service to be eligible for either in residence, or you're eligible for self-enrollment into correspondence as a senior airman in Guard or Reserve. Again, for Guard and Reserve, if you're self-enrolling for ALS, you actually do not need supervisor's signature. And there's a safety net. Obviously, if you're not actually eligible, it won't let you sign up. So it's an easy way to know. Same for NCOA, the Non-Commissioned Officer Academy. Obviously, you're active duty. You're either a tech select and you pin on tech to bridge from that tech to master requirement, or for the Guard and Reserve, if you've completed ALS, you are able to automatically go and shoot for NCOA. So your staffs who are gung-ho can push forward with that. Same for senior NCOA. There's some caveats to that. I don't currently believe for Guard and Reserve, if you've completed the previous PMEs as with NCOA at ALS, it will not currently let you click to go ahead and push forward with senior NCOA. It used to in the past. Obviously, you have to have some elements and barriers. You don't want the senior airman to have all three layers of PME done without actually being a practitioner at that grade or at that level. And then for the active duty side, obviously, once you pin on master, then obviously you go through getting your MESTRUS and going to your NCO Academy. PME administrators falls underneath Air University. There's a new great contract through an initiative that's been taken. It's been republished and reworked for the curriculum on Blackboard. I've done the new NCOA, and it's actually really good. It hits visual, kinetic, and audio, different factors. So there's tons of different learning dynamics depending what kind of learner you are, versus just the straight textbook. So that was really good. Another really neat thing about that is that previously you'd have to go through your UTM and your training managers and get scheduled at a training test facility, and you're bound to the schedule. Always was kind of a pain if you're on swings or mids. Now it's all from Blackboard. You can do it at home. While I was deployed, I was able to do it from my room in my deployment area. So it was just super convenient. It's study, and on your time when you're confident to execute that test, it's on you. Just know that the catch is for your correspondence for those, regardless of level, if it's ALS, NCOA, or senior NCOA, that it's 4 EOCs, it's 20 questions in 20 minutes, which allows us to keep that integrity factor in there, because you can't cheat an open book test if you only have 60 seconds per question. So that makes that easy. And then obviously for SEJ, for your senior enlisted joint PME, for staff and tech, you're available to take SEJ1, which is currently in JKO, which is pretty good. It crosses into your other services if you haven't had the experience to work with Army or Marine or Navy or Coast Guard, or if you have and you enjoyed the experience, then it's extremely interesting. And then when you pin on master, you're eligible to take SCJ PME 2. So the first one is for staff and tech. Second one is only senior NCOs, unfortunately, because they're pretty neat classes. They're more about just dishing information out versus EOCs. We touched a little bit on Macmillan. The link is above to give you a little bit more time to screenshot that if you need it. They do have some correspondence study guides in there. I don't feel like it's currently necessary anymore with the new rewrite, as the material is really comprehensive, and the way that you study is pretty much the way that you test, and they set you up for success with the scenario-based questions. However, for 5 and 7 level, unfortunately, still the games, the UREs, the self-test questions are much easier to cram and to master with the help of this software. So until things cross over with the new CDC modernization or through any innovation ideas they're going through, Macmillan's still going to be your best bet. So professional development. These are a couple ones that were kicked over to me that were some good mentions. You have your SEJ PME 1 and 2. Again, those touch on the levels and where they're at. For our CE or emergency management folks, or our firefighters, or any of our MSG guys that aren't maintenance or logisticians, you've got the FEMA Incident Management course. Tons of different series in that, which are great for our responders. The Defense Support for Civilian Authorities, so obviously I haven't forgot about our awesome GSs or WGs. There's those are the level 1 is in JKO, and the level 2 is in resident only. I would ping your civilian supervisor or your career advisor and see if they can point you in the right direction on those programs. For your reserve leadership course, that varies base to base on who actually offers that, but plug in with your CA on that. Same for any other local listings for classes, such as Air Power Academy. It seemed like that had been done previously at the Global Strike Command. I had seen it done over in the AOR, so really just it's very dependent on your MAJCOM or your Major Command on who and what base provides your APA. I've seen it to where you have to actually submit packages and actually interview for those, so every base kind of does a little bit different. You have DAU, there's program management certifications, there's life cycle logistics. If you're in contracting or deal with heavy procurement and acquisition, there's paths for certification through that as well. In addition, you have the International Society of Logisticians, which is SOL, and they have a DML certification where you submit a full person professional package, whether you're active duty, guard, reserve. There's a little bit of something for everybody to be able to submit for a package for that. They evaluate you on your effectiveness, your career experience, your schooling, any continuing education, EDUs or CDUs, any conference, seminar, all of that's captured in here, and then they evaluate you within their program with their director and by their program guidelines, and then they award you a dignitary certification, which allows you to put that in your big boy, big girl signature block if you want. But it's another thing and another tool that we can get to highlight the experience and the professionalism of our members. Just note that they are extremely undermanned currently. They're looking at 120, 180 days of turnover upon receipt of a package. It is free. The only thing you pay for is the $50 money order to send it, but most bases in their mail office, they can push that through for you. So it's you can hammer that out on a lunch break if you need to. So what can these courses do for you? Well, you ever want to attend any kind of joint service, any kind of special type of course that could really elevate and level up your career? It's been said by a few senior NCOs and a few mentors that obviously if you haven't utilized what's at your disposal for free, or what you have within your means to accomplish on your own, it's people are going to ask why would they add the extra effort to you if you're not taking care of yourself. So it's one of those things you want to be competitive. A lot of these things are self-paced that I mentioned. A lot of these things are triggered by the milestones of your career that have to be accomplished anyways. It's just better to get it done versus let it stagnate and fester and become something that holds you back. So bios. What is a bio and why? Well, bios can be uploaded into VRS, which is the volunteer system that you can use to look for activations if you're Guard or Reserve. I myself used this when I, as a senior airman, fought for a Master Sergeant position at the Battlefield Airmen, which is now Special Warfare, to stand up a unit for a couple different LRS components. My bio essentially was able to highlight the experience of what they were looking for, and I was able to argue that I was going to be able to be what they needed at a much cheaper rate. Obviously, your airman's going to be cheaper on your payroll than your Master Sergeant is, so it's really for position, it's really for highlight. Primarily it's for senior NCOs, but it's never too early to create the understanding and to get the practice in. You don't want your first time to be the time that you need it to count. So bios can also be submitted with AF49s, which are your MPA days requests in VRS when competing for activation. Touched on that a little bit. It's also for applying for positions and it can also help you close the gap a little bit. The required for most senior NCO positions: MATCHCOM, your numbered Air Force, wing, and professional orgs. Some awards categories, if you've actually been selected, require you to provide a bio. I've had to do that on that end, and that's always a bit of a learning curve if you're an airman. So template-wise, I'm going to show you a quick way to access a template. You have your bio. They're starting to do away with the photo because it creates that inclusive environment. It's a quick introduction of the individual, the rank, their organization, the title that they've been utilizing or that they've utilized. It creates that highlight of the summarization of their entire career. It's not a complete list, but it's only the significant ones. And then in our third paragraph for our Guard and Reserve members, this is where you can add that special dynamic of what you do potentially at a leadership or a high level within your civilian occupation to be able to capture that experience, especially if it's relevant and it really complements your military career. So this is a good space for that. Obviously, for education, assignments, your awards and decks, other achievements, any kind of professional memberships and or associations such as AFSA, your Air Force Sergeants Association, any of those kind of items, that's really well captured in here. And refer to Tongue and Quill if you need extra on that. I will show you actually real quick what mine looks like. So to give you a quick highlight on mine, I capture a quick overview, currently over IP and training in an innovation office. I capture the highlights of my active duty career, and then here as a reservist I'm a project manager on the outside that primarily does DoD work. So I cross over a few AFSCs and deal with major commands and kind of your buzzword entities. So that captures a joint service element which complements my service. So I've plugged that in, and then obviously any education, civilian and military, my assignments, awards and decks, some achievements in here. Personal preference, get with the mentor or a senior NCO, but annual awards, huge. Quarterly, ask your leadership. That kind of bases off of personal preference. I've always been taught wing or above, but if you have a group award, just ask. And then obviously any professional organizations, you've got AFSA, your Global Soft Foundation. If you work with your operators, even as an enabler, you're able to join. So there's different things that you can do on that as well. So that kind of captures the bio. RADPs. So I'm going to touch lightly on this. This is more of a tech sergeant and above thing currently. This is essentially a vetting tool for Guard and Reserve. So if you're not Guard and Reserve, or if you're not a supervisor or a Guard and Reserve member, feel free to stick around for this one anyways. If not, just refer back if it's ever relevant to you. Essentially, an RADP is critical for development teams and school boards. It's primarily for vectoring. For us, it's a tool to communicate our military and civilian experience. That's outside of your VRS, so this is something where you're actually having AFRC, for us reserve, kind of vet you as a member and how you've been able to execute on your career path and your milestones that you've set for yourself. So this is through VPC and through MyPERS. It's within 12 months. I believe it's done every 2 years, but you obviously want to have it ready. You want it done no later than 30 days prior to the scheduled release and for review. And then it's just a good rule of thumb, while you're hammering out EPRs, go ahead and just update it once a year. And then it requires 2 levels of coordination, whether there's changes or not. This is a little bit of the coordination through from VPC in that guide. I'm going to just leave this up for a couple seconds to let you look at it. I'm not going to go too deep into this, but obviously speak with your leadership. Obviously they want to take care of you and see you be successful. So see what their process is, see if there's any differences there. Now on to mentorship. So a mentor is somebody who keeps you accountable. It's in a typical world, it's the experienced and the inexperienced, your seasoned guy or gal, and your new member, whether they're new to just the work center or new to the base, or whether y'all are peers. It's just good to have that interaction to keep you on the path to progress. Obviously, it's some advice I've been given that's been really helpful to me is it's good to have one or two mentors. If you can, have somebody who's a subject matter expert who can help you continue to create that technical expertise and help add that range of breadth of experience within your actual AFSC. And then if you can find a mentor that's outside of your career field to add one, perspective, and two, things to be able to counteract and bounce off of your other one. It just provides that extra layer of understanding if you're able to kind of have that. That way you can kind of provide some additional goals or provide some additional insight that you may not have thought of at first glance. Obviously, with mentorship, it should be organic. It should be somebody that you vibe or connect with naturally. Don't be afraid to just say, hey, like, I look up to you. Can you be a mentor? Or if you just want to watch them from afar like a lurker and emulate the style and what they do because they take care of people or you look up to them, feel free to do that as well. There's no shame in trying to just emulate and add that to your style as a form of respect and trying to develop your own way to manage and to lead. Of course, if you're in a area or TDY or any kind of scenario where you just can't find a mentor, MyVector does allow for sign up for mentees and mentors. I like it because this is a fail safe. Obviously, you can reach out for development this way. If you're scheduled, if you have kids, if there's anything that keeps you from being able to build this kind of natural relationship, then at least while the beginning and may feel systematic, at least you can get to the organic side because y'all are in like mindset. And again, that's on MyVector. MyVector is per the recent Mission Support Group Symposium is going to replace AMS for the majority of AFSCs and the active duty component, and we are still waiting to hear currently if it's going to replace VRS for our Guard and Reserve component. But obviously, this is what MyVector is going to be the future. If you get comfortable with it, you can be the master of it, and you can help navigate that for your folks as well. So to tie this off, the General Brown's action orders with Accelerate, Change, or Lose is really pushing the different dynamic in breaking through the politics and bureaucracy of what used to be in the Air Force. And while it still exists, there's a lot of folks that are actually really rolling up their sleeves regardless of rank and getting after it. And there's a lot of ways to get involved. It's such an easy time if you want to do something for the Air Force and make it better than the way you found it to do something. If you're an NCO, you can join as an honorary member for LOA without dues via LinkedIn. This is a way to track resources and opportunities for your folks and share information on symposiums and conferences. Obviously, for our company and field grade officers, this is a great resource for you to be able to get the wing and higher level perspectives and teach us younger enlisted folks the bigger picture and all the moving pieces that go into the mission. You have WITL, which is a sub-branch of LOA, which is Women in Defense Logistics. That includes ammo and maintenance, by the way, so don't feel like our maintainers are left out. This is something for all of our awesome women that are leading the charge, leading members, just absolutely crushing it when it comes to the job. And this is something special to y'all that adds that dynamic for you as well. Tesseract and ideascale.gov. If you're interested in joining Tesseract, feel free to ping me. I can forward you over to A4L Tesseract, and ideascale.gov is a great way to look at any current innovation projects, regardless of rank, to see who currently has something going on, or if you have an idea, you want to see if it's been done or not, or if it has, then you can reach out to the POCs there to be able to lend a hand. MIT Air Force Accelerator Program is another huge one. It's helping take MIT minds and bring them in, and their technology with AI and software, and it's allowing them a safe startup and being able to utilize and own the IP. Global Soft Foundation for special operations enablers. A lot of us logisticians support them in one way or another, or if you're a operator yourself, this is a great organization for transition. And obviously you've got sprints and spark challenges. There's ways to be able to compete where even the Chief Master of the Air Force can see your idea, and it's just such a small funnel. If you're really passionate, have something great to be able to push forward with and get recognized and try to do a lot of good. So that is all. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. My email is taylor.mogford1@us.af.mil. I'm the only Mogford in the global. That's MOGFORD. It's also at the front of the slides. I'm currently stationed at JBSA Lackland as a reservist, so more than likely I'll be here for a while. So if you need anything, you want to connect, any of that, feel free to do so. Additionally, if you want to join our team for the Jackals and our effort, I have a quick flyer as well. This is our Jackal slide. This is the QR code. Feel free to scan this sucker right here. Join our Discord. If you ever need anybody to talk to, feel free to reach out. Thank you. Bye.